All right. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Pláticas. My name is Ann Endres, and I am the Title V Director at Cabrillo College. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us tonight. It's a Thursday evening, kind of late in the academic year, and I know everybody who's joining us has been on Zoom probably all day and for many months. So I'm really appreciative for our students who are joining us, for our student speakers, and for our speakers tonight. So for everyone that's here, if you can take a moment to just drop in the chat a little introduction, who you are, your name, like your role, if you're a faculty member at CSUMB, or you're one of our career speakers, or you're a student, just introduce yourself real quick in the chat. It's nice to see who we all are and who's in the room with us. Oh, that was on my screen. All right, if I can move my slide forward. Tonight, we're talking about our biology program. And this is just a little slide that goes over what we're talking about tonight. I'm doing our welcome and introduction. As you see, there's a little logo up on the top. This is part of our Title V Transfer Pathways Grant, which is a collaborative grant between Cabrillo and CSUMB. We're in our third year of this collaboration with CSUMB, and it's focused on increasing transfer to CSUMB and then just really supporting our students to be on a transfer pathway at Cabrillo, and to have a nice smooth transition to CSUMB, and also just connecting our students, our faculty, and our programs. And part of this work has been holding a monthly Plática, a chat, a talk that highlights a different 2+2 or transfer pathway between Cabrillo and CSUMB. So tonight we're talking about biology. I'm going to talk just for a little bit about a program that we have called Cabrillo 2+2 CSUMB. Then we're going to hear just a little bit about Cabrillo's biology program from Nicole Crane, one of our biology faculty members. Arlene Hoffa from CSUMB will talk about the CSUMB program. And probably best of all, we get to hear from student panelists. And I think there actually might be more than just those two names on there, but that's always the highlight of these sessions for me, is hearing from students and what they have to say and their experiences. And then in the second half of the hour, we have a career speaker with us, Julio Martinez, and he'll be talking a little bit about what he did with his biology degree and his academic and career journey. At the end, we have some designated time for Q&A, but we are open to questions throughout this little event tonight. So if you have questions that come up, you can put them in the chat, and then we'll keep an eye on those and make sure that we get those answered. So just real quick, again, I wanted to highlight that one of the things that we've done with our Title V grant and through this project is create a new program called the Cabrillo 2+2 CSUMB program. And this is for students who are new at Cabrillo College, so starting out as freshmen and know they probably want to transfer to CSUMB, they can join our program. And then we really focus on getting students connected to CSUMB from the moment that they start at Cabrillo and transfer faster, get that support that they're looking for to spend 2 years at Cabrillo, 2 years at CSUMB. So if a student were to start in fall of 2022, they can get their degree and transfer like that really happy person in that picture in 2026. And you can also take longer, but you can do it in 4 following our pathways, and especially with the support of our program. And then just some of the elements, we're really big on creating community. It's a cohort program, getting one-on-one advising. You have the same academic counselor the entire time you're at Cabrillo. We have peer mentor support and lots of connection to resources. So that's just a little overview of our, sorry, I'm going the wrong way, of our, why am I going the wrong way? Maybe I'll stop share for a second. That was just a little overview of our 2+2 program. And I'd like to hand it over to Nicole Crane to just talk a little bit about our biology program at Cabrillo. Oh, you're on mute.
Most of you here probably already know something about our bio program, so let me just say a few words about it. We have a program that is it's part of the 2+2, although many of our students take longer than 2, which is great. So we support them all. We have a really, really strong transfer program into the UC system, into the Cal State system, into actually any system. So our programs focus on the general requirements for students to transfer into a number of different majors. These include things like ecology and evolutionary biology, plant sciences. We have some horticulture students. We also have molecular and genetics and biotechnology students. And on top of our sort of standard biology pathways, we also provide training in the form of applied classes where students can get skills before they transfer to help them, for example, get accepted into labs and things like that. So we have a very, very small student to teacher to student ratio, so very close, sort of intimate types of classes. And our biology classes have 6 hours of lab a week, unlike in many institutions, which are down to either 3 or 0. So great program.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Cabrillo does have a really fantastic biology. We have a lot of good programs, but our biology program is pretty amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Arlene to talk a little bit about the CSUMB program, and let me know if you want me to share those slides.
Okay,
for you.
Fine. Yeah, maybe you should. I can't get it.
Sure.
Maybe did it go? Oh, no, I can't get it to share. All right. So hi, my name is Arlene Hoffa, and I am the current chair of the Department of Biology and Chemistry at Cal State Monterey Bay. Our department has 3 degrees in it right now. We have our Bachelor of Science in Biology. We have an agricultural plant and soil science degree, and also a chemistry minor. We take a really hands-on and applied aspect to our classes and labs, much like it sounds like Nicole said. We have many upper division labs that are 4 hours a week long. And so students learn skills like microbiology or molecular techniques or field surveying. Most of our upper division labs are now what we call a CURE, or course-based undergraduate research experience, so that students can actually conduct actual research at the time that they are taking the class. And it's been really great. Many of them end up presenting this at capstone festivals or at regional or national conferences. It's been really wonderful. You can see that biology, as you probably know, if you're considering biology, there's so many different things you can think about, whether it is at the scale of an ecosystem or out in the ag field. That picture of the tractor is my research group of students from a couple years ago. We can think about rodents or other animals or birds, or thinking about molecular things. And so to that end, we actually have 3 concentrations in biology. And I'll have the next slide, Anne.
Sure.
And so depending on what a student is interested in taking their career to the next step, you would decide on which of these 3 concentrations would best suit you. If you are interested in ecology, evolution, and organismal biology, you might end up being a park ranger or going to graduate school to study the environment. You might also go to veterinary medical school, because of course, animals are organisms. We've also had a number of organismal biology majors go on to work for places like the wine industry in our area, because microbes are what makes the wine, and so they've learned that skill. Molecular biology students are those that really probably enjoy chemistry as well as biology the most. It's closely tied to this need to take biochemistry and cell biology and learn the detailed mechanisms at the molecular and cellular level about what's happening biologically. Many of these students go on to medical school or ophthalmology school or dental school because the classes prepare them well for this thing. We also have a science teacher education concentration, which allows students to take the broad coursework needed to become a credentialed teacher in the state of California. And we try to implement a variety of different high impact practices, not only just the course-based undergraduate research experience, but we try to integrate writing across our curriculum. We have a number of clubs that students are in, and we have an undergraduate research opportunity center where students can be paid to work with people. And I think at this point, I'd like to turn it over to my students so that they can talk more broadly about their transition from Cabrillo to CSUMB and how that's been. And so I'm going to turn over to Juan, I guess.
And I think, and also like, if you have any advice for students, like if there's something you wish that you'd been told before you transferred, that kind of advice is really helpful.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Juan Vargas. I am a Cabrillo transfer student. I transferred into CSUMB last semester. So this is my second semester here at CSUMB. And one thing that I wished that I knew was something kind of like the 2+2 program. I went from high school to Cabrillo thinking I was going into, I wanted to be a PA. So I did like a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't have like kind of like this, someone to tell me, oh, these are the classes you have to take. Of course, I went to like an academic counselor and they told me these are the general classes, but I never had something like the 2+2 program where it's like, oh, I want to major in biology now. These are the classes you have to take. This is the path you should follow, at least, if you want to transfer in time. So I kind of got stuck for an extra year at Cabrillo, but still worked out. So I wish I had something like that. I barely found out about the 2+2 program the semester I was transferring. So
it's new.
yeah, it's new.
And we are excited to support students. Yeah.
So I wish I had something like that. And I'm so happy to see that other students are taking interest in it. My experience at CSUMB so far is great. Just like Arlene was saying, that these labs are very similar to those of Cabrillo's. I've taken many chemistry, biology classes at Cabrillo, and I have to say that it's very similar to what I'm experiencing here at CSUMB. Some classes are bigger, but of course that's expected. But other than that, I feel like Cabrillo's program, their biology program, really prepared me to be here at CSUMB and feel comfortable.
And what's one thing, what's one thing that you've, like one of the things, your favorite things about either your bio classes or your CSUMB experience so far?
So I would say that one of my favorite things at CSUMB is the diversity of the students and the class size, of course. Cabrillo College is known for its very diverse student population, I guess. they're very, I loved the community college level, taking classes with of course, different races, but also different age groups. And I feel like I get that at CSUMB. Also, one of my favorite things at CSUMB, like I said, was the class size. The classes are smaller. I kind of know all my professors. Like I know Arlene. I really got close to all of my professors. And that's something that I didn't get to experience at Cabrillo. So I'm very thankful for that. Yes, Nicole.
I have a question. My question for you is there something that you wished you had known or done besides the 2+2? Like what has it been like as a transfer student? And is there advice you can give some others that are transferring? Because I think a number on here right now are transferring in the fall. Things that you can tell them about the transfer, things you might have done but didn't do, or things you did that were great to help you.
Oh, so of course, making sure you got all your classes right, make sure you have all your transferable units, but also, I don't know if it's because I transferred during the pandemic where it kind of felt lonely. Like I didn't have no office to go to. Sometimes I would like zoom into like the counselors and they did not have their camera on. Or sometimes I would try to get into contact with different schools and I wouldn't hear anything back. So what I would tell students is you kind of have to like put yourself out there a little bit to get the information you want. So let's say you are interested in CSUMB, or if you're transferring to a different school, I would try to reach out to their transfer program to be like, hey, I'm interested. What do you guys offer? What is something that I can do to get ahead or something like that.
Mhm.
Great advice.
Does anyone else have any questions for Juan?
Yes, some of you who are transferring, feel free to ask questions about the whole process. And I appreciate what you said, Juan, and I've heard that before as well, to reach out. Transfer students often can feel lonely when they arrive because they're transfer and they're sort of entering in the middle, let's say, of a bunch of other people's journey through a school. And understanding, what the transfer programs there have to offer, including community, I've heard is important.
Yeah, and we now have a transfer success center that that maybe some Cabrillo students are coming on the field trip tomorrow, but we're bringing students from Cabrillo to CSUMB tomorrow. But I also think the transfers, like when Juan transferred, they were even our transfer success center wasn't working in person, but they're back in person. So it's a good, so stop by, if you're transferring to CSUMB, definitely stop by and get connected there.
And I don't know if this is true of all transfers. I'm going to ask one. I run with your other professor, Jen, who teaches micro. And so today she was asking, what's your day? And I said, oh, we're going to do this thing. And I said, we tried it. She goes, didn't you do that last week? And I said, yeah. And I hope the students come back. Juan was there last week. And she said, oh, I have Juan. And she knew you immediately. And it was like, she said something, and I said, oh, he always sits with Caitlin in my class. He goes, oh, I think they're paired up in my class too. So I kind of feel like we don't always intentionally cohort our students, but they often come in and take the same set of classes at the same time.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird because Caitlin and I and like a whole bunch of other people, kind of like George and Axel, we all have kind of the same classes. So like Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll see each other all day. And I feel like that's very cool because you kind of get close to them. Even though they like, you might not be like super best friends with them or something, it's kind of nice to see familiar faces. And I feel like that's what the small class size does. Like I'm with the same people kind of all day for some of the classes, of course, or even like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to see most of them next semester as well. We've already said like, oh, what classes are you taking? I'm like, no way, I'm taking that class too. So it's like this sense of community that the small class size gave me.
One thing I will say is that we do have the professor that Arlene mentioned is the faculty advisor for the pre-med club. And so she's got a very active, lot of resources for people that want to go on to medical school. We've had a good record of getting students into medical school. And I think that's been kind of a positive thing for students that are interested in particular medical school. And then I think, as Juan mentioned, also we have the PA program at CSUMB too.
I have to say something I've noticed now 2 years of doing these, Pláticas once a month, and there are different programs each time. The transfer student panelists, the students often say the same thing across all the different programs, which is that they like the small class sizes. So that sounds like something that's pretty typical for CSUMB. They feel connected to their CSUMB faculty, even during the online time. And that this experience of coming in and not really knowing anyone, but because you're at your upper division classes, you're kind of all you're sort of, accidentally cohorted and taking classes together. So you actually made friends pretty quickly. And so I just have to say CSUMBs, it sounds like transfer students really do get connected pretty quickly through their classes to other people. So that's a really good thing to hear and know that students are making friends and getting connected. And Juan, have you gone to check out the Transfer Student Success Center, the TSSC at CSUMB?
I did I didn't join the club, but I did go check it out when I first transferred. I kind of like forced myself to walk around the campus, get to know it a little better. And I do recommend students do that, even if it might not be CSUMB. I got accepted into all the schools that I applied for transfer to, and I walked around San Jose State, I walked around San Francisco State, and kind of like getting the feel
Mhm.
of the environment that you're going to put yourself in, I feel like that's very important. Like I couldn't see myself being at San Jose or San Francisco,
Mhm.
but I really liked the environment. And usually everything's open and people are very nice. They'll just welcome you in, even if you're not a student.
Mhm. Thanks. Good. Oh, Sharon, you're on mute.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. So we have a video from a student, but I don't know if Arlene can share a screen or not, or else we can just go to Julio, and because we've got Julio here and he's live and people can ask him questions. So I think maybe we'll just do that.
Let's do
So I don't know-
live.
Yeah. So I would love to welcome Julio Martinez, who was not a transfer student, but he grew up in Salinas and he came to CSUMB, and he could probably tell stories of his adventures when he first started here, and now he's done some awesome things since well, I'm going to let him tell his story. So, okay.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Julio, and I'm really excited to share my journey at CSUMB. I graduated in 2015. I received a bachelor's in biology with a molecular concentration. And currently, I'm working as a science laboratory technician. I support the agriculture, business, and technology program at Harnell College. And before telling you a little bit about my experience at CSUMB, I would like to share with you about my background. I was born in Mexico, and my family immigrated to the United States when I was 12 years old. So from there, it was a little bit challenging to get to know what the educational system at the United States is like. And learning a new language was also a challenge. Through middle school and high school, I was enrolled in English as a second language classes, while other of my classmates were taking, for example, ROP classes, which are occupational technical courses or upper division classes at a college. So when I graduated from high school, I remember during the ceremony, I was thinking I only have two choices: go to work at the fields where my dad worked throughout his life, or continue studying. So, and I wanted to continue studying. My dad, when he brought us to this country, he wanted a better education for our family because he didn't want me to work or my siblings to work at a very physical, demanding job. So I decided to go to CSUMB because it's close to Salinas, and I was able to commute and save a little bit of money and not get into student loans. And when I took the placement test at CSUMB, I found out how behind I was in my education. I started taking the lowest math, the lowest English, and the lowest science classes, and I decided to continue studying. But at the time, I also got a part-time at McDonald's in Salinas, and it was a little bit challenging for me. I remember I failed my biology class, I failed a chemistry class, and I failed a calculus class. So during that time, I wanted to quit college, but one of my professors at the time, her name is Crystal Gonzalez, a chemistry professor, encouraged me not to quit, and encouraged me to give another opportunity to my education. She talked a little bit about research, and that there was an opportunity to get paid doing research, doing laboratory work outside of the classroom. And I became interested about that because at the time I was working at McDonald's, and I wanted to work somewhere where I was getting experience and in the major that that I'm interested in. So believe it or not, I did not choose biology because I wanted to be a doctor or because I wanted to be a scientist or a dentist like my other classmates. I really decided to study biology because I was very naive. And biology, I discovered that biology is the study of life. And during that time, I was in an existential crisis, asking myself, what's the meaning of life? And I figured out biology is the study of life. So I want to study biology, how things work. And so far, it has given me a different perspective of life, appreciation of everything. But going back to when I decided to continue my career, it was during my second year at CSUMB when I was taking the upper divisions classes that I met Arlene, and I was studying microbiology with her, and I was introduced into the world of research. And after doing research in microbiology, in plant pathology, in biotechnology, that changed my perspective about my education, because I was really starting to appreciate the lectures and really learning, because I just had to learn what I was given in order to practice it outside of the classroom. So I feel very motivated. I feel very confident with my skills, and I feel that research gave me, in a summary, my undergraduate research gave me the opportunity to get ahead, to close that gap in my education in the past during middle school and high school. So research helped me to build my confidence in the lab, and just interacting with scientists outside of the classroom, getting to meet these people, getting to network with them, getting to get advice from them. And right now, and asking them questions which I didn't have during middle school and my high school years. And until this time, I still ask my mentors for letters of recommendations, for advice. And it feels great to have their support throughout my career. So something that I want you to, some advice that I want to give you is three main things. I think that I'm one of the opposite example of getting prepared to go to college. But if I was able to do it, I want to give you these three advices. One is to ask for help through your faculty, through your professors, because no matter what is your situation, the CSUMB faculty and staff, they really want you to succeed. They really want you to succeed. That's one thing. The second thing is take advantage of the tutoring center at the library in CSUMB. These groups of tutoring, they're great. That helped me to go to get into my upper division classes. And the third thing is to visit the Undergraduate Research and Opportunity Center for an opportunity to do research and explore the lab outside of the classroom.
Thanks, Julio. Do you want to tell us about what you did right after you graduated, and then how you ended up at Hartnell?
Yeah, so after I graduated, thanks to doing research at the USDA here in Salinas, working with Arlene Jaffa in her lab, doing research in biotechnology and doing research in plant pathology, I was able to get lots of I applied to jobs. I was uncertain of where to, if I wanted to go to graduate school or work. And I decided to go in the workforce. And it was really easy to apply to a job and just getting the job because I had so much experience before. And that's something that I encourage you to have, to do research, because then when you apply, everybody is gonna look at your experience that you have. They're not so interested in what school did you attended. They're more interested in the experience that you have in the lab.
So, Leo, that's a really inspiring and motivational story. Really appreciate you sharing that. think you're like the role model for persistence and not sitting back. You reached out and you got the support and you got connected. It's fantastic. Really inspiring.
I see a question by Nicole.
I just wanted to make a comment about your story, you emphasize the importance of applied knowledge, being in a lab and working on actual projects and working on actual problems. And I think this is such an incredible strength of CSUMB, that they offer these opportunities for people through UROC and other ways of working in a lab. For those people that are transferring to a larger university, maybe into a UC, it's what you said is so true. You must reach out and try to get those opportunities, because I feel like at CSUMB, they really organize their whole program around students being able to access those. I think that lends really an incredible amount of strength to the CSUMB programs. But again, if you're not going to CSUMB and if you're going to a UC, oftentimes you'll have to find those opportunities. And so
you have to compete for them.
Yeah, and I would say reach back to your faculty and have them help you. So many of us know people at these universities, and we can still help. After you transfer, doesn't mean you leave Cabrillo, for example. You can reach back to your faculty and say, hey, I'm interested in plants or whatever I'm interested in, and do you know people up here in this department, and can you help me get into labs? Because Julio is absolutely right. It's super important. Thank you for that.
One thing that I would like to add is after I graduated from CSUMB, I was able to get a scholarship where I could do thanks to my mentors again, because I would need the references, and I was able to get a scholarship, and I had the opportunity to do research at any institution. It could be a UC, a CSU in California, and I decided to do it at UC Berkeley. And I remember attending there. It was in the vision science. I remember attending to those classes. I had the opportunity to go on those classes, and I was shocked to see how many students, how big that lectures were. And I think that that's a very important thing that you were mentioning about CSUMB, that you have this interaction, you have these interactions with faculty. They know you by name, and you have these research opportunities, something that you will have to compete if you go to a bigger school, a UC, or any other school that is the lecture are so big, and sometimes the professors, they might not know you by your name. And in order to get these research opportunities, you're gonna have to compete.
Any more questions from our people in the room? Ivan, I liked your comment in the chat about feel you about failing calc. So, people have been going through struggles, and any questions from people in our room?
I think, Julio,
have
you
a
can
question.
correct me. Oh, go ahead.
So Julio, how do you recommend kids coming from community colleges to become competitive, so when they enter those four-year university settings that they do have that edge when they're like competing against kids who might have been getting research opportunities or lab opportunities when they were sophomores or underclassmen, I guess?
You're asking if when you're in a community college and you want to transfer to another university,
Yeah.
and how to compete. One of the things from the advice that I give you is reach out to these professors. Even in college, one, it's very important to know what is intriguing for you. What are you interested in? And you can have several options, but you want to send an email to these professors. You might ask, they are never going to answer, but you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that they will answer you, and they will be in contact with you. So try to reach to these labs, to these programs. Try to read what is the research, and ask them questions and tell them, I'm interested in your research. I would like to visit there. I'm a student and I would like to transfer there. And believe it or not, they get really interested about that because you're taking initiative, and what they want is somebody to take initiative.
Mhm.
I was also going to say is that what Julio didn't mention, and maybe he's managed to forget by now, but I don't remember. I mean, I haven't forgotten, is that when he first started out, you didn't start out with glorious research. You probably started out you learning the lab, washing dishes, putting things away, maybe making some solutions. So you don't start out as the super advanced researcher. You start out, not, and it's not like you wash dishes forever, but everyone kind of, you get that comfort level and you learn what the stuff is. And so it's, so some people start out with research right away, but a lot of students, it's just that initial getting connected, being comfortable with the environment too. And so I think, transfer students, a lot of it is going to be talking to your faculty. A lot of transfer students take microbiology their first semester, and that's really a good place to start build connections, I think.
I actually want to mention, I used to work, before I worked at Cabrillo, I used to work at UCSC, managing a research project there. And when I hired student assistants, I always tried to hire transfer students. And that's because the transfer students typically had better resumes because they tended to do more work while they were at the community college level. And they were just, even if they were the same age as the non-transfer students, they just had more skills. They'd persevered through more things to get there. And they were just like fantastic, employees. And it was a research team. So we actually had some of our undergraduates who were able to be co-authors on some of the things that we published because they were fantastic. And so I think that, like Russell, if you're thinking, oh, geez, like maybe when I transfer, they're going to think I'm not, they're not going to know me because I'm a transfer student. I think a lot of professors actually see transfer students as really strong students because you got there, and it's harder to get there through the community college route because it's more tricky to navigate. And like, as Juan was saying earlier, like, gee, he took some wrong classes. It took him an extra year. Well, he had to learn a lot through that navigation. So our transfer students are strong when it's like there's a bumpy, rocky period in the transition as you're learning the new institution and like all the new acronyms and where things are. But once you get over that bumpy part, like transfer students are strong students.
Yeah, it's backed up by data in my college too. So the statistician Judith Canner looked at all the transfer data versus in-house data for quantitative literacy, and the transfer students had much higher scores than the homegrown ones.
I will say the same is true in biology, that the transfer students tend to do much better than the native students. And that's attributed to a number of things, including access to opportunities at the community college, also better attention from the teachers and, more intimate classes, and in some cases taking a bit of a longer time so that you can really get the information. But yeah, I concur. I think same for most of the universities that we speak with.
Mm-hmm. Lizette, I saw your comment in the chat. Do you want to unmute and talk, or I can also read your message?
Sure, I can talk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing like chores at the same time. But this is exactly why I'm appreciating Julio's story, because I'm a single mom of two and it's been getting tough for me. But yeah, and I can relate, with when he talks about his parents coming from, working in the field, my dad too. And I mean, when I was a teenager, I would have to go with them on Saturday mornings. And he would say the same thing. You're going to either end up out here or you're going to, or stay in school. And so I don't know if it's something that they just are in our culture. They just tend to teach us that. So I'm definitely wanting to stay in school, but anyways, yeah, I appreciate that, Julio, you sharing that. It touches my heart for sure. Like I said, I come from the same type of family. Both my parents, they worked in the fields for many, many years. And a lot of my family, not just my parents. But yeah, I agree with asking for help. I've definitely been doing that lately and it hasn't been easy. Claudia, thank you. You've been a huge part of that. So I appreciate you too. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add just a huge thank you to Julio and everybody in the 2+2 program.
Thank you, Lisette. I would like to add that just as this story might inspire you, I have also been inspired by many others. And I remember one time when my story was shared in the newspaper in the community. It was 3 times, and I was thinking to myself, well, this gotta be something normal now, you know. And the way I see it right now is that more and more opportunities are open for transfer students, for high school students. I see a lot of opportunities, such as this program. I'm really glad that they have these opportunities because you can get prepared for the future. Unlike, I think my story was like the very opposite due to my circumstances. But going back to the question that I was asked earlier, I wanted to point out persistence. I wanted to point out that if there's a specific program, or even a specific program that you want to get in, please email the instructor. And even if he doesn't respond the first time, the second time, maybe you email them the next year and they will respond, because sometimes they're very busy, and sometimes they have, if you want to work in their lab, for example, they have, they're full, but maybe in the next semester, they're going to have one spot for you. So be persistent. And another thing that one of my mentors told me, she told me, you know, have a goal in life, but such as career, it's a journey. It's not an end goal. It's not an end destination. So if you're thinking, you know, it's going to take me a long time to get there, try to enjoy the journey, because that's it. Because when you get there, there's going to be something else that you will want to accomplish. But try to enjoy the journey.
I have a
love
funny
that.
transfer story about Julio. So I didn't make Julio just wash dishes. We started off learning about bacteria and working right away. I mean, you had to wash your own dishes, but that wasn't your job in my lab. But at that time, my office was attached to the lab. And I had hired a transfer student from MPC who had done well in my biochem to be my grader. And he was being paid minimum wage by the department, which I think was about $10 an hour at that time. And I'm a pretty young, strong union activist. So I would think I was paying Julio about 12 or 14. And Julio walked by, he had on a baseball hat that said Diarigo on it. And the kid sitting there looks up, he says, "Oh, I like your hat." And Julio's like, "Oh, my dad gave it to me. He works there." And then the guy sitting there grading goes, "My dad owns that company." And so Juan was talking about the diversity of students. It's not just the diversity of ethnicities, races, it's economic. I mean, it's an incredible fact that these two became good. I mean, the two of you just teasing each other after that every time. It'd be like, I just thought that was great. I don't know. Do you remember that day?
To be honest, I don't remember earlier.
Okay, I thought it was so funny because I thought of him just as a transfer student, and I had no idea. Like, and it was like, it was at Capstone. Jen Cato wouldn't talk to him. His parents. He goes, "Do you know who they are?" I'm like, "Oh, they're his parents." And she's like, "But do you know who they are?" I'm like, "His parents. I don't know who they are. Like, I've never met them."
But I would like to share a story about my experience working with Arlene. I remember this was my first research experience. I remember that for 1 week I was having. So Arlene gave us this freedom to explore the lab, look at what was there, and I felt really comfortable. But I was doing PCR, I remember at the time, and I was struggling for, I think it was like a week. I wasn't getting any DNA bands, and during that week, every day I was going back to my house. I was feeling really, really bad because I was thinking, "Oh no, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting Arlene's time." And it was the same feeling when I went and I worked at the USDA after I graduated from CSUMB. I was there for a year. I was working at Albany at the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture, and I was working assistant a professor, and principal investigator. And during the whole year, I was kind of feeling the same thing because we were getting data, we were getting data, but it seems like this data, we couldn't put it, there was not a real answer to this. So that's something about research. Research is to repeat it again, do it again. And that's what I went, when I wasn't getting that gratification, I wanted to show something. I wanted to build something with my hands. I have it, there you go. I made this, I did all this work this day, but it's just a different perspective about this type of work.
Any more questions for Julio? We're kind of coming up on our last little 10 minutes or comments. Well, and I actually have a question for you. What are you thinking about? So did you just finish you're finishing your first year of transfer?
Yeah, so yeah, my first year.
What do you have, career goals after you graduate? What are you thinking about?
So I've kind of been a little bit everywhere with, I've always been interested in science. Like I said, I thought I wanted to be a PA. I became an EMT. I started working part-time as an EMT. Then I started shadowing PAs and doctors, and I found out I was like, I don't like that. And so I started looking more into stuff, and I've actually been going to the CSUMB's career counseling, and that's where I found out, that was last semester, I found out about CLS, clinical laboratory scientists. Like I said, I've always been interested in the health field. So I've been looking more and more into that. And I feel like that's something that I really, really like to do, because it kind of combines the health field plus science. And like, I feel like that would be perfect for me.
Very nice. Excellent. Well, that's a great resource to know about. Oh, Julio, you want to say something?
Yes, it's funny that you mentioned that you want to be a CLS, because after I graduated, I worked at the USDA for a year, and then I got married, and then I jumped from job to job because I was traveling to Mexico where I got married, and I was working. I work in many jobs, but related in science in my field. And I came to that conclusion about pursuing a career as a CLS. So right now I'm currently taking some classes at UC Berkeley Extensions to pursue this goal.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm
So
probably.
let's keep in touch.
Yes.
Excellent.
Hey Julio, you said you worked for the USDA, right? What you do for the USDA? Was it like something to do with like food or something, or?
Yes. So during my undergraduate research, when I was still a student at CSUMB, I got the opportunity to work with a plant pathologist at the USDA research station here in Salinas. So I was mainly working in microbiology with bacteria, inoculating plants with the plant pathologist. And then at that time, I was thinking about changing my interest into more public health. So I became interested in food safety. When I graduated from CSUMB, I reached out to this researcher at the USDA, and I asked her about an opportunity to go and visit her lab. When I graduated, she told me that she was looking for a job position. So I immediately jumped into this opportunity, and her lab was microbiology and food products. So I work with plants and bacteria, and I thought I was gonna get working with human pathogens. I work with human pathogens, but dealing with the human pathogens on the lettuce plants. But now I'm pursuing a career as a clinical laboratory scientist, which goes more into health.
Wow,
I like that question, Ivan.
no, yeah, because I really like the USDA, and I was wondering if I could maybe like get a job there or something like that. I'm not really big into science. I love biology and all. I'm more into business, but I really do like the USDA, so maybe I'll try to apply there and see what I can get or anything like that.
Well, and we just had an internship fair, which was focused on the USDA had like a lot of different jobs available, and they had agribusiness, they had science, they had more like outreach. There's a lot of different jobs. So
I'm sure I saw that notification, but it just got buried. I'm sure.
yeah. So I think, but yeah, so we have, and I could just put I can put my email in the chat, and I could try to connect you with the person or contact us as Juan Oliver does.
You know, we had a Plática earlier this year back in the fall. That was one of our speakers. He was kind of like he was actually in tech, and but he said that he recommended that students get a STEM bachelor's, like biology, because when he's looking to hire people, even in like, you know, Silicon Valley jobs, that they love the STEM undergraduate degrees. So like Ivan, if you love biology, but you're not exactly sure if you want to work in science, I think it's still it's a really solid degree to have, and that you can work in many industries with a bachelor's degree, or go on and get a graduate degree in something as you find your niche, you know.
That's kind of funny because I'm studying to be a business major, but I haven't changed my major yet, so I'm still a culinary student, which is hilarious. And it's like a conversation starter for anybody to ask. It's like, hey Ivan, why does it say you're hospitality and culinary management when you're over here learning about business, which is hilarious. And that's like the first thing my teacher always asks me. It's like, Ivan, what do you do here in business law for? And you're over here as a culinary, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I want to make like a cake with the business law on it. You know, you never know.
Love it.
Just souffle with some.
Wonderful.
Well, and I know this is about biology, but CSUMB right now has a concentration in their business major, this agribusiness, and they are going to be launching as their agribusiness, like a separate standalone agribusiness major. It probably won't be approved till fall of 23, but that's definitely in the works.
Cool. Excellent.
That's cool.
Well, Nicole, I see your hand.
I have another little bit of advice, I think, for people in terms of careers. And again, it's something I think that CSUMB does really well, but can also be found at other institutions. You might have to look a little harder for it. And that is to make sure that your experience as well as classes have some diversity in them in terms of field and breadth of field, like you're just now talking about agricultural business. You know, biology major that also has, you know, good experience in English or writing or communication or business or anything like that. These things really round out your abilities and I think make you more employable in the long run. I think employers really look for well-rounded people in terms of their degrees. So that's just a little nugget I wanted to put out there. At least in terms of the employers we talk to, that's one thing they almost all mention.
Yeah, we've recognized that too, Nicole. And in our major, we actually allow a variety of minors instead of electives, thinking that they would get breadth of knowledge. We have a formal list of them listed.
Something that I would like to mention, because during these years, I've worked in many different, Arlene knows, I work in many different jobs, making platforms, working with, doing cannabis clones, working in the Institute of Environmental Health, doing the diagnosis of crops, products, and recently working in a COVID lab. And I thought that working in many places would be having this diversity would be opposite when I'm gonna be looking for a job. I thought that they're gonna look at my resume and they're gonna be like, he's just jumping from job to job. But it's interesting that it has helped me, the diversity that I have, even though it's in biology, but in different labs, has helped me to apply to different jobs. And now I don't see, like, working from in many different labs, I don't see many people staying for 5, 10, 15 years in one job. I see that people, especially after graduating from college, some students stay in one job for 1 year and then they're thinking, you know, I'm not making a big impact in the world, so I gotta do something else. And I feel that having this diversity in your resume really helps.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the end of our hour. This has been such a good plática. Thanks. Thank you, Julio. Thank you, Juan and Nicole and Arlene and Sharon and all of our students for being here. I learned a lot about biology, and now I want to figure out how to hire Julio at Carrillo. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.